Welcome to the Classic Soap Operas podcast. You know, some shows are just shows, but then there are the ones that are more like forces of nature. Today, we are diving deep into a show that was a true typhoon of drama, one that just completely dominated television for 2 whole decades and left this incredible mark on daytime history. We're talking, of course, about The Secret Storm.
Okay, so let me ask you something. Imagine you're a TV executive back in 1954. Your job? Launch a brand new soap opera. But not just any soap. You need this thing to run for the long haul. I'm talking 20 years. Over 5,000 episodes. How do you do it? What's your secret weapon to hook an audience from day one and never let them go?
Well, how about this for an idea? You kill off your main character on the very first day. Yep, that's what they did. They killed the matriarch of the show's central family in the premiere episode. I mean, can you even imagine? It was so bold, so completely unheard of. It just immediately made The Secret Storm this thing that was totally different from anything else on TV.
So yeah, let's go back to that absolutely shocking start. We're heading to the fictional town of Woodbridge. This is where we meet the Ames family, and they are about to be blown apart in a way that, trust me, nobody saw coming.
I mean, the guts it took to do this, it's just stunning. So on February 1st, 1954, audiences tune in. They meet the Ames family for the very first time. And boom, they watch the mother, Ellen, die in a car accident, right then and there. This wasn't some cheap cliffhanger at the end of a season. This was the opening scene. The whole show was built not on a happy family, but on a family that was completely shattered from the get-go.
And that one single event, that was the engine that powered the show for years. The central conflict was set in stone right away. You've got this grieving father, Peter Ames, and now he has to raise 3 kids all by himself. That tragedy, it created this huge vacuum. And you better believe that villains, new lovers, and just endless drama were all lining up to rush in and fill it for the next 20 years.
So with Ellen gone, the rest of the Ames family is just adrift, trying to figure out how to even deal with their grief. And, well, this is a soap opera, so they didn't have to wait very long for their first real villain to show up. And she was already in the house.
You can see how that first tragedy really shaped every single one of them. You've got Peter, the noble dad, just trying to hold it all together. Then there's Susan, the oldest daughter, who tries to become the new mom, but she's kind of bossy and controlling about it. The son, Jerry, goes completely off the rails with vengeance and ends up in reform school. And then you have little Amy, the youngest. She would become the absolute emotional core of this entire show.
So who was the first person to start stirring up trouble? Oh, you're gonna love this. It was Aunt Pauline. Now get this, she was Ellen's sister, but she was also Peter's ex-fiancée. How complicated is that? She was still totally in love with him, so she made it her life's mission to sabotage any new romance he had. She was the OG villain, fueled by this super toxic cocktail of jealousy and misplaced love.
But honestly, the real heart and soul of the show was Amy Ames. And they did something with her character that was so rare for soaps back then. Heck, it's rare now. You know how soaps usually have a kid who's 5 one week and 15 the next? Well, they didn't do that with Amy. They let her grow up in real time. The same actress, Jada Rowland, played her for almost the entire run. That means the audience literally watched this little girl become a woman on their screens, living through every single triumph and heartbreak with her. Okay, so the stories on the show were wild, right? But believe me when I tell you, nothing they ever wrote could top the unbelievable plot twist that happened behind the cameras. This wasn't just some casting announcement. This was a true Hollywood legend stepping right into the middle of the storm.
So, what do you think it was? What could possibly have been more shocking than all the on-screen drama? What was the one moment that cemented The Secret Storm in TV history forever?
It wasn't a murder plot. It wasn't a surprise wedding. It wasn't even a long-lost evil twin. Nope. It was a casting decision. Just a simple casting decision that turned into this moment of pure, unscripted, real-life insanity that just spilled right onto our television screens.
Okay, get ready for this. In 1968, the actress playing a 24-year-old character named Joan Borman-Kane, she gets sick and needs emergency surgery. So her mom offers to fill in for her so she won't lose her job. A sweet gesture, right? Except her mom just happened to be the one and only Joan Crawford,
the Oscar-winning Hollywood legend. So for 4 episodes, you have Joan Crawford, who was over 60 at the time, playing her daughter's 24-year-old character. It was bizarre. It was surreal. It was one of the most jaw-droppingly meta moments in TV history, and people still talk about it.
But you know what? Not even Joan Crawford herself could overshadow the show's greatest, most unhinged villain. Look, if Aunt Pauline was the first storm cloud, Belle Clemens was a full-blown Category 5 hurricane. When she showed up, she took the drama to a level of pure, vindictive chaos that was just something else.
I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? She simply enjoyed making life miserable for Amy and proved to be good at it. That's it. That's Belle. There was no tragic backstory, no misunderstanding. Her motivation was just pure, unadulterated malice. And oh my God, did audiences eat it up. Let's just do a quick rundown of Belle's greatest hits, shall we? First, after her own daughter drowns by accident, she decides to blame Amy for it. So what does she do? She systematically destroys Amy's life. She starts by stealing her husband. That drives Amy into a complete nervous breakdown. But oh, she wasn't done. Years later, she finds out Amy had a child via artificial insemination and uses that to blackmail her. It was just relentless. It was so cruel. And it was absolutely fantastic television. But you know how it is. Even the biggest, baddest storms have to run out of steam eventually. And after 20 years on the air, the winds started to shift for the secret storm, and the end of this incredible era was on the horizon. A huge piece of the puzzle was something we see all the time in TV: death by 1,000 time slot changes. In '68, CBS put the show up against 2 absolute monsters of daytime TV, Another World and General Hospital. That's basically a ratings death sentence. The network kept bouncing it all over the schedule, trying to find a spot for it, but all that did was confuse the loyal fans. People just literally couldn't find the show anymore. And it wasn't just the time slot. There was a ton of turmoil behind the scenes, too. CBS bought the show in 1969, and after that, it was like a revolving door of head writers and producers. That kind of creative instability is just poison for a long-running show. The storytelling got fractured, and you could feel that the storm that had been raging for so long was finally losing its power. And so, on February 8th, 1974, just a single week after its 20th anniversary, The Secret Storm aired for the very last time. And the final episode count? A mind-blowing 5,195 episodes. Think about that. That's not just a TV show. That's a monument to an entire generation of daytime television. You know, when you really look back at the whole thing, that insane premiere, the Joan Crawford madness, the villains that were just so iconic, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In the world we live in now, with a million streaming services and endless choices, could a show ever do that again? Could it capture our collective attention for 20 straight years and build a story that epic? It's a wild thought. Hey, if you had fun taking this trip back in time with one of Daytime's all-time greats, do us a huge favor and hit that like button, subscribe, and definitely drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your favorite memories of the show. And that brings us to the most important question. What's next? We want to know what classic soap you want us to tackle in our next explainer. Let us know your suggestions in the comments. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.